Hello and welcome back to me. It has been an amount of time. Without delaying the inevitable even further, let's talk about the Canadian Grand Prix. I still want to talk about the Canadian Grand Prix. I did have to refresh my memory a little bit, cast my mind back, if you will. And I would also obviously like to talk to you about the book I read at great cost to time, which I will talk about after talking about the race, as per usual, but the book is apparently Sir Cameron Needs to Die by Greer Stothers. It was really fun. Probably not going to go into insane amount of detail, purely because I don't remember much of this race, and it's also been so long. It was a sprint weekend, so we had a sprint race first. Yeah, Antonelli and Russell battling, and then Antonelli on the radio complaining about Russell pulling some sort of move that he was unhappy with, and then getting told by Toto to not moan on the radio. Hilarious. Didn't think Toto had it in him to be mad at Kimi. My feelings on Kimi have become really interesting because at the beginning I was really happy for him. After 5 wins in a row, it gets really boring. So now I want everybody else to win because I don't want him to run away with the championship. Spoiler alert for the more recent races, it's not been quite like that. I think that's good. I want like a real messy championship battle with like 5 contenders or something. I think that's hilarious. Mostly because I want Charles Leclerc to win in the end. So I need him. I need him to catch up, and I need the others to do slightly worse so he can do that in peace. Am I deluded for that? Maybe. Sue me. That's part of the deal. Leclerc also got ahead of Hamilton. I genuinely don't remember the conditions that he did that under, if Hamilton had some sort of issue. Not much happening, except Hadjar went through like the 5 stages of grief because he had an engine issue, pitted, and then came out 2 laps down from everybody else. So he ended only ahead of Alonso, who DNF'd. I mean, for a sprint race, I guess decent, but not too much happening. Hulkenberg also went down, but he was never in the points to begin with, so I guess. The race, I think, was a lot more interesting. I forgot that the McLaren started on inters. Lindblad had an issue at the start. They did the formation lap and he realized he couldn't get into gear, and then they had to roll him off, and they did 2 more formation laps to clear his car off the track. And Piastri, in the middle of those 2nd and 3rd formation laps, asked to pit. He pitted on lap 1 instead. Great. And then Norris also pitted for mediums, and I just wrote down everybody has pitted for slick. I think it was just the McLarens. There was a yellow flag. Oh yeah, because Albon was crashed into by Piastri, I believe, because then he pitted with front wing damage. Right. This race was really messy. I do try to color code a little bit in my notes. If there's a yellow flag or a red flag or safety car, virtual safety car, that sort of thing, I will put it in my notes and I will highlight it with yellow so it jumps out, so I can immediately see like there's something that happened. Like if there's a virtual safety car, like I'll mark around it just so it's clear what happened during the virtual safety car or the safety car and what happened after or before. I don't know how much you can see, but there's a lot of yellow. We had a yellow flag, a very brief yellow flag, a yellow flag that led to a virtual safety car where everybody pitted, which lasted for like 2-3 laps. Another virtual safety car with the pit lane closed. Oh, and that's when my favorite moment of the weekend happened, with the marshal picking up that piece of debris, chucking it through this like small gap in the wall, and then just genuinely swan diving after it. That was so good. Like, absolutely incredible performance. No notes. My favorite part, truly. Then we had another virtual safety car and another brief yellow flag. So we had like 3 yellow flags. Well, 4, one of which led to a safety car, and a total of 3 safety cars. Well, virtual safety cars. Wild. Okay. What happened? I genuinely couldn't tell you. So this is not going to be a super comprehensive summary of the race, as you may imagine. I don't have a lot of quotes. Well, I do. And I think that exclusively Verstappen and Hamilton quotes. Verstappen, my tires are cooling down, and then just a bunch of asterisks. I assume it's fucked or it's shit, knowing him. It just felt like it was just Hamilton and Verstappen complimenting each other and being kind of just chill with each other, which was nice. Like, I don't know, it was slightly unexpected. Maybe I spent too much time on the internet, I don't know. It was sweet to see, like, 5 years on, here they are now. With Hamilton saying, I got to race Max, and Verstappen saying, cool battle with Lewis as well. And then I also wrote Hamilton and Verstappen compliment battle in the cool down room. And then obviously they were all very, really sweet with Antonelli, like putting him like on their shoulders and stuff. It was very sweet. I enjoyed that part. Charles, my driver, he is always who I look out for in the race. First and foremost, he went from 6th to 5th in the sprint race, and he went from 8th to 4th in the Grand Prix, which was a decent result. He was still on 3rd in the championship battle, only 13 points behind Russell, 56 behind Antonelli. We don't talk about that, but Hamilton was like 3 points behind, so it was like super far. away. Sorry, that was an extremely short, weird summary of the Canadian Grand Prix. Alas, that's what happens when you film your videos a month after it happens. Oops. So I'm just gonna speed run further to talk to you about Apparently Sir Cameron Needs to Die by Greer Stothers. They're a non-binary person from Canada. At least I assume they're from Canada. That's where they live right now. So I extrapolated. And it was a very fun book. It's hard because there are some things where I was like really pleasantly surprised when they came up in the book, but they are also obviously spoilers, so I'm not going to mention them. It gave more than it promised for specifically me as a person. Made for me, I think. Basically like medieval vibes fantasy with a evil sorcerer who wants to kill God. And there's this knight who is kind of vain, kind of clueless, very self-absorbed, whose name is Sir Cameron. It turns out that there's a prophecy that he needs to die in order for the mad sorcerer to be vanquished, for him to not achieve his goal. He hightails it out of that situation and turns to no other than the mad sorcerer himself, who he thinks is the only person at this point to have any reason to protect him. Hide with him so that he doesn't die, because that's the one thing he does not want to do. Cue a very interesting relationship that they have with each other. Like, if you're thinking the general kind of, I guess, romantasy vibe, not that, I would say. Again, I read this over the course of like over a month, so I might be missing something. If I remember correctly, there were no explicitly kind of described sex scenes, but it is also very clear what is happening. There's like, I guess, like King, they have a very interesting like relationship in that sense. They sort of negotiated. I did think it was funny though. It is also like overall a very funny book. Like I really enjoyed the writing. Like Sir Cameron, he's like at the beginning I was like, oh my god, this guy's fucking annoying. Oh my god. Like clearly extremely clueless. Just he thinks very highly of himself more than literally anyone else does. And if I wanted to be unkind, I would say the only thing he has going for himself that he's clearly classically handsome, and that's the one thing he relies on because he has nothing else to rely on. He's not particularly clever. He doesn't have magic. He's not very good at anything. Is that mean to say? He's set up like that. Not my fault. It was, you know, it's a bit like that kind of medieval fantasy writing as well, with like slightly more old-timey words and all of that. I'm sure you can imagine. And yeah, very, very funny. Again, vaguely kinky and horny. It is really funny to see Cameron clearly, I'm not saying this in an unkind way, but clearly the dumbest person around. Like, he has the mad sorcerer and his elven friend who's like, you know, very smart and very, very sporty. And he's just kind of a dumb jock. Who's very pretty. Like, I don't even think he's a good fighter, and that's literally what he's supposed to be doing. But there's also depth to him. Like, you do also learn a bit more about, like, his fears and his upbringing and all of these things. I really don't want to understate how much the mad sorcerer clearly doesn't like him, at the beginning at least. It's hard to say, because there's, like, some plot twists sort of, that are obviously set up from the beginning of the book. It's not that they come out of nowhere. They added so much to my enjoyment of the book, but obviously I can't tell you about them. I can't be like, oh yeah, this is going to happen at the end. It's going to be so cool. Because I'd like you to read it and be as like sort of surprised as I am about it. So, sorry, this is a terrible book review. I expected it to just be like a fun little like enemies to lovers vibe thing. It was a lot more, I would say. So yeah, I would recommend this. That was the Canadian Grand Prix, and that was Apparently Sir Cameron Needs to Die. I hope you enjoyed either or both of them, and I'm going to go take off the shirt because I'm really warm. Yeah, I will hopefully see you really soon for more discussions of all of the Grand Prix that have already happened that I haven't talked about yet. Next video you can hopefully expect soon is the Monaco Grand Prix, which I did not find a book for because that's a small country. And I think finding a queer author writing about queer stories that is also translated to English, because my French is not good enough, kind of hard. I tried and then I gave up. So I instead just watched the Monaco Grand Prix and did a little commentary of it. I'll edit it down because watching the whole thing will be exceedingly boring. Once I'm done with that, you will get to see that quite soon, I hope. And then I'll keep going with the remaining Grand Prix. Hopefully I'll catch up sooner rather than later, but I hope I can do it at least until after summer break, be caught up again. I hope wherever you are, you're not dying of heat and you have a nice summer. And I will see you hopefully very soon. Bye-bye.